Here I am in the woods. It's early March. It's supposed to be spring, but it's a little bit wet and overcast, but not such a bad day. So it's a good day to come out and have a look to see what we can forage. So follow me. You don't have to go too far. I've just spotted this mushroom here. This is Auricularia auricula judi. Auricularia auricula judi, I can never say that. Anyway, commonly known as wood ear or jelly ear. And as you can see, it's a sort of fleshy, kind of leathery texture. Very commonly used in Southeast Asian Oriental style cooking. Not such a common mushroom to be used here in the Western world, but it is a good one. Best way to use it is to dry it out, powder it, and use it as a thickener in soups and stews and things like that. It doesn't have a hugely strong flavour by itself, but it is a good mushroom to know. So, good one to spot. This one's growing on a dead or dying elder tree, which is pretty much the only place you find this fungus. So, elder trees are the favourite spot for it. Let's see what else we can find. Here's another nice fungi. So this is a birch polypore fungi, or what's sometimes known as a razor strop fungi. I'll explain that why in a minute. And it's growing on a dead or dying silver birch. And silver birch is a fantastic, very useful tree for lots of different things. Firstly, the bark can be peeled off, so it can peel off these little curly pieces here, which are sort of flaking away, a bit like tree dandruff. And they are an excellent tinder, one of the most flammable materials you can get out here. So there's a dead polypore just fell on the floor. That's very rotten. But this polypore here is a nice fresh one. And the way to use it for stropping or sharpening a knife, and it would be dried out, flattened off, and then you can use it to hone the edge every time you use a knife, or a razor for instance. The other thing, the tree itself contains a lot of sap, particularly at this time of the year, so we can tap a live and healthy tree in a number of different ways. My favourite is to cut one of the lower branches just over thumb thickness, and you should get a decent flow of sap. In the sort of late February, early March period is generally a good time around this part of the world anyway. Another good thing about birch polypore fungus is it contains antiseptic properties, so it can be used to make wound dressings, corn plasters and things like that. So really useful fungus to find, not edible, but has a lot of good properties. So I'll leave this one behind, see what else we can find. This is the bane of gardeners and landowners everywhere. It's Japanese knotweed. It was an import into this country probably 150, 200 years ago. Victorians loved it as an ornamental plant. They planted it all along railway embankments, and now it's just about everywhere in the UK. This is last year's growth, and one of the good things about dead and dried out Japanese knotweed is that it is one of the best kindlings you can find. So you can break all these dried out twigs, and they're hollow, very easy to break, make a nice noise as you kind of crack them. But you can light a fire very quickly with this stuff. So if you've got any of this growing near your campsite, make sure you get using it for lighting your fire. And as I say, this is last year's growth, and if we look down at the base of it, we've just got some of this year's growth starting to come through. So I'll pull one of these little shoots out of the ground. There we go. So these little shoots, growing very quickly at the moment. When they get to about this sort of size, they're ideal. They can be cooked a bit like rhubarb, but once they get much bigger than that, they become quite woody and fibrous and not really worth eating. But when they're very small, they contain quite a bit of oxalic acid, which gives them that same zing as rhubarb or gooseberries. So they're not a bad food, and they're a bit of a pest, particularly in the countryside here in the UK. So the more of these we eat, the better, really. Okay, leave this one behind. Let's move on. This is Millennia grass, one of the best natural tinders you can find. It grows in open country, heathland, places like that, so you rarely find it in dense woodland, but it's a great plant, and it's this time of year, so this is last year's growth. It's dried out. Once it's nicely dry in the wind, it becomes the perfect tinder. You can use it for fire lighting just about any time. So I always stock up on this when it's dry, stuff it in an inside pocket in my jacket, then when I get to my campsite it's ready to go. So good one to keep a lookout for. Just places like this, it's everywhere, so never a shortage. Beautiful smell. This is a damaged piece of a pine tree. Something's ripped the bark off here, or a branch has come away, and you can see all this pine resin just leaking. And it smells, it's like furniture polish, really strong, quite aromatic, very clean smelling. And it's an excellent first aid ingredient. It's a good antiseptic, so you can use it on cuts and all sorts of injuries. The other thing it can be used for, it can be scraped and it can be melted, mixed with ground up charcoal, and it becomes a basic but effective glue. So it can be used to bind things together. So good Stone Age use of pine resin. But an excellent first aid ingredient. Definitely one to keep a lookout for.